Hi, I need to tell you about the Moms Moving On membership community. I can't believe you're not a part of it yet. Being a Moms Moving On member means that you have entered a world of all of the best and most useful advice to guide you along on your own moving on journey. Combined with monthly coaching webinars at no extra cost and our private Moms Moving On Facebook group where you can all connect with each other. My Moms Moving On membership community was based out of a need that I had back when I was getting divorced and just couldn't find, but it is the place for lemonade makers. I've rounded up my go-to experts to put together curated content just for you, including a free monthly webinar with me, self-confidence boosters, co-parenting tips and strategies, heartbreak advice, divorce anxiety relief, legal advice from top US attorneys and mediators, financial advice, ebooks to help you on your journey, journal prompts and worksheets, discounts for all of my favorite brands, playlists to get you in the mood no matter the mood, my direct number for when you need extra advice, and of course, discounts on workshops. Hi everyone, we're back with another Moms Moving On, and now we have somebody who I've basically been stalking. I was about to drive up to New Jersey, put a lasso around her and pull her down to Miami so I could get her on the show. I want her on here for reasons that you may not realize. When I tell you who she is, you're going to say, oh yeah, sure, she's a Jersey housewife. Of course you want to have her on the show. But more than that, and what struck such a chord with me 5 years ago when she came onto the show was her co-parenting relationship with her ex-husband. It's one of those things where you have to see it to believe it, and then makes you want to level up and be a better co-parent. We have Dolores Catania on the show from the Housewives of New Jersey, which is back with another amazing season. Thank you for being here.
That kind of got me a little emotional, that intro. Really? Thank you, Michelle. Yes, it did. I've been becoming more human now that I'm 50. You know, I don't know, something hit me like a brick wall that I actually have feelings, but yeah. Well, but I'm so happy that this is the reason you're having me, because it's something that I'm passionate about and I can definitely speak to you about.
Well, I think, you know, what set you apart immediately from the other castmates, which I happen to love, being a former Jersey, Bergen County girl. I mean, there's nothing I love more than the Housewives of New Jersey, but
it was familiar for you.
It was what?
It's familiarity for you.
Yeah.
You know the dynamics. You know the people, you know the way we talk, the way we fight, you know it.
I know it and I miss it. But what really stuck out was the fact that you had these layers of depth. You know, you were not just somebody who came on the show to add drama or to be a pretty face. There was so much more behind the scenes that stuck out immediately, which your commitment to motherhood was number one. I mean, it was obvious by your relationship with your ex. And for those of you who don't know about it, we'll get into that soon, that motherhood is your number one priority at all times because you're doing what you do for the kids.
All children are, actually.
For someone who is divorced herself and co-parenting and could never imagine doing anything that wasn't child-centered, it helped me resonate and like, connect to you so much.
You know, in the beginning, and for those of you who don't know my story, my husband left me when I was 9 months pregnant for my son, Frankie, for a girl that he met, I think, in a strip club. I don't care where she was from. Right. It doesn't make her any less of a woman. She was a woman. And, you know, he went through this thing where, I don't know, he was horrible, actually, horrible. So what he did to me, there was nothing that wasn't done to me. There was no lie that wasn't told. And the reason I'm telling you this is not to badmouth him, because I love him. And I've already spoke to him 3 times today, as I do every day.
Right.
And I will never turn my back on him. And the reason I'm telling everyone this is because if I can do it, you can do it. And the kids have to come first. Family has to come first. And I wanted to make the best of what I had. I came from a very close family, and I grew up in a very, blue collar neighborhood where family was everything. You didn't have a lot of things. You didn't have a lot of, you didn't have a lot of vacations. I had never been on a vacation until my honeymoon.
Right.
My dad was a cop. My mother was a waitress, and I was one of 5. I was working at 12 years old. So you had the few things that you had was not an education. I barely graduated high school. I had my word, my loyalty, and my love for family and religion.
Yep.
And those were my most biggest things.
You just brought up the word I want to dive into next, because if there were a word to associate with you and what you bring and how you carry yourself, the word is loyalty. And, you know, one of the most impressive things about you is how fiercely loyal you are to the people who are important to you in your life, including Frank. And you're so consistent with the loyalty. So tell me, you know, there's so many women that I work with whose husbands have affairs and they're heartbroken and shattered and can
I
barely
know
look
that
them.
pain.
They can
I know
barely
that.
look them in the eyes when they're exchanging the kids for co-parenting. What made you say, okay, you know what? He
God,
did this, he was stupid, but we need to come together as parents
I
for
was,
our kids.
I was so hurt. My mother thought I was going to die from a broken heart. I was scared. I worked 3 jobs to help him pay off his his law school tuition. I put everything first because that's the way I was taught.
Mm-hmm.
And when this happened and he came home and he was out late and it wasn't what I was used to, where I came from, men were rough, but they came home.
Right.
So I didn't know from a father who traveled. I knew of a father who was wild. He was a cop. He was a good looking guy. I saw my mother cry many a nights over him. So I came from, things happen in a marriage and things aren't always easy. I got it. But I didn't know that somebody comes home and says, I'm leaving you. And my world was ripped out from under me. And then I thought to myself, well, I have a 3-year-old and I have an infant. I went home to an empty house, which was something I didn't know from either.
Right.
I grew up in a small house with 5 kids.
Right.
So it was just horrible. And the thing with that is my loyalty was, well, I loved him and I love my children and he's the father of them. So for my children, I'm still going to love this guy.
Right.
I have to put the hate aside. I thought I wasn't. And I can tell these women what they're going through. You feel like somebody punched you in your stomach. So you can relate to me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you how you feel if you're going through this. You feel like somebody punched you in your stomach and left their fist there. It's right here. That hurt. Nights and weekends are hard because now the kids are sleeping and now it's just you and them at the end of the day. And you say to yourself, how am I going to get through this? And you cry harder than you've ever cried before. Like you didn't know you had another tear left. Mm-hmm. Your pillow is soaked, has mascara on it. And sometimes you don't feel like you're a good mother because you can't be because you're taking it out on the kids. Like you're yelling at them for their toys. So what?
Right.
And you're scared to death. How am I going to raise these kids? How am I going to do it without him? And how are they going to know what a family is without him being here? Yeah. Is there going to be a stigma in their life? So what I did was, and I wanted to spite the girl that he was with, who he did not stay with.
That had to be part of it. Good strategy.
So I didn't want to give him a reason to justify what he did to me. I didn't want to tell him, see why I did it? Because you're a nag. And a lot of times they'll blame you. Before, leading up to the big explosion of all this coming to fruition, you've been told you're crazy. You've been told your house isn't clean. You know what you're talking
about. You're making things up.
You're making things up because you could smell the perfume as he walks through the door and the hair is a mess. And you're saying, no. I at one point I said to him, don't make me prove it. Because when I prove it, I'm going to have to do something about it.
Right.
So just stop. And he was miserable. And you see him sitting next to you and he's not looking you in the eye because he's thinking about somebody else. And you feel horrible. You're just eviscerated. Uh-huh. But look at me now. Look at me now. So I went to see a therapist. And this was the most pivotal time of my relationship and what happened to me. And when I said to myself, this is where I'm going to change. I used to fight with him when he came over, like a lot of us do. Mm-hmm. There's resentment. You're crying. He's coming over. He's picking up the kids. He's leaving to go be with the woman that you're so hurt over. Or even if there wasn't another woman, or if things just didn't work out, he's taking the kids and you're sitting there by yourself now, right? Mm-hmm. So I go see a therapist, which was taboo from where I come. You get through things. Tough love. If you're upset, don't cry in front of me. I'll give you a reason to cry. You had to get through things. You had to fight through life and fight for what you had and work for everything. And there's 5 kids in the house. My mom didn't have time to coddle any one person. And, so I went to a therapist and I only knew from when I went to high school. So, because, you know, when you get in a fight in high school, you have to go see a therapist. So I got in a fight, and my sisters and brothers were always, we were scrappers. So always to stick up for other people, though, never a bully. And I called the only therapist I ever heard of in my life. And I said, will you see me? I'm getting divorced. And she knew me. She said, yeah. So I go to her, and it was God's way of putting me in this person's hands, because she was a child psychologist. And her office was filled with high school adolescents, teenagers. And I'm here with an infant and a baby, but I'm there for myself.
Right.
And I'm walking in, and as I'm walking in with the carrier with little Frankie, and my eyes are swollen shut from crying, this kid busts out through the door, and he starts kicking and punching the walls. And his mother's behind him with the most brokenhearted face, because every time I talk about it, I could still see it like they're in front of me. And I walked around him, and they were both in so much pain. So I dragged myself in the room, and I sat down, and I said, before we start, how do I get it to make my kids never be that hurt? Mm-hmm. She said to me, stop fighting in front of them.
Exactly.
Don't fight in front of them. And from that day on, from no matter what it was, I ate shit. Mm-hmm. I ate shit. I didn't fight with him and say, it's Tuesday, I have a date, you're picking up the kids, you're not here at 7:00, where are you? No. I'd call up the date, and I'd say, I can't make it. My husband's busy. He didn't come. And that was it. And you know what? That was more time for me with my children. They grow so fast. Kids are hurt enough. They see you hurt. When they're playing with their toys, don't think that they're not seeing you crying from the corner of their eye.
They see everything.
They see and they know everything. But they can, and I see, and I'm sorry, I understand women do this, and I don't fault you for it. We all have to go through our things, but don't put it on your kids. I beg you, I beseech you. Kids deserve to know their mom or their dad is okay.
Yes.
They need to know this. Let them figure out what their other parent is. Let them figure it out. And you know, I've never wanted my kids to hate their father, because that is a burden on them, not liking your parent. It's years later that I'm an adult that I see my father for the different guy. My mother looked up to him. She was crazy about him.
Right.
He was a tyrant. And I don't say this on TV because the rest of my family doesn't want to talk like this.
Right.
My dad was rough.
Right.
But we looked up to him like he was the greatest man that ever lived, because that's what my mother did. And as I got older, now I know. I love him to death. He's coming to live with me, my dad. Aww. But you know, you let the kids know everything's okay. My son went to school, a very diverse school for sports and everything. And I was friends with a lot of the moms. And one mom was homeless, living in a car. Oh my God. She used to say to the kids, we're good. And that boy eventually lived with me. But she used to say to him, this is nothing. We're good. We're good. Don't worry. Not a big deal. It's not a big deal. He's in Columbia now. He's in an Ivy League school playing football.
Wow. Well, and that's a testament to the moms. And I speak from experience as a child of divorce. My father did something very similar to what your ex did, left my mom high and dry. My mom was an immigrant, didn't even want to be in this country, let alone like in cold New York with 2 kids, had no idea what to do next. And I once posted about this and I got so much shit for it, but I never once saw her cry. She was devastated and tells me now, Michelle, I used to put you to bed and throw up. I used to just cry till I threw up and cry.
Crawl.
And I never saw it. And that was the difference between me being a hot mess. I mean, I was a hot mess regardless because I had an asshole of a father, unlike Frank, who does not seem to be like an asshole of a father. But
we've had our moments.
But
he's not an asshole of a father.
Like you, she held it together because she chose, you know what? She ate all the shit. She ate the, I'm not getting my child support shit, that he doesn't show up shit, that he's making Michelle cry. And she took that road. And I also think that's another reason why I resonate so much with you. But that type of attitude of, I'm going to do what's right by my kids and let them figure it out eventually, because they will, they always do. It's the best way to go. But I'm wondering, now that your kids are adults, are they grateful for all you put into this and how you guys came together to raise them?
They don't know anything different. And they are.
From the jump, you guys stayed as good as you are, or it took time?
I beat his girlfriend up. I went to her house. I beat the shit out of her up and down the street. Frank and I got into a couple of fist fights. I'm being honest and raw here. No one has heard this from me. But the people that follow you need to hear it.
Right.
And I care about the women. I care about the families who are looking for some answers right now. Me and Frank got into fights. He'd come in my house fighting with me, because this is also another thing that happens. They get in a fight with the girlfriend, then they're sorry they left. Then they come in, they fight with you. They blame you for throwing them out or whatever it was and not letting them come back. And they get frustrated because they just gave, maybe they're not happy for the decision they made.
Right.
They're going to take it out on you. But after that one visit, and after I saw the future in that boy whose mom was crying behind him, done. I just let it. I would ask Frank to leave if he carried on in front of the kids. And it was better for what he was going through to not take the kids at times.
Mm-hmm.
And he says it all the time, like he'll make fun. And he'll be the first one to tell you he didn't change a diaper. He never went to a doctor's appointment. He didn't do the homework. He didn't know when the kids had a bad day. Everything, I kept peace. Mm-hmm. I kept world peace, which was so important. And I'm not the perfect woman. I am not. I've had boyfriends. My kids met them. They gained and learned a little something. I dated a good-looking guy who wasn't into working. I showed my son, this is not what you do. They learned from each thing, and there were things I could take back. Like, I wish I wasn't so hard on them at times. So I wish I gave them more confidence. I wish I told them how great they were more. But there were some times I was so just worn out.
Right. Of course. How could you not be? You're one person. How long before he moved in with you again? Obviously, this relationship with this woman didn't work out.
It wasn't the woman he stayed with. He stayed with her 5 years. And it's hard for women to look at that person that did this and caused all this pain. So then he met another woman. He's been with her 15 years and they stayed together. He never married. He never remarried. She didn't have children. And that was another thing. She said, I don't have kids. And I don't really want to be a stepmother to yours.
Wow.
And you know what I said to her? Thank you for not being a phony. Thank you for not having my kids come over and be mean to them. If you don't want my kids over, I am so grateful. That's more time with my kids. Thank you so much.
But bitch, that's a decision to make before you break up a family.
Oh no, this was another girl. This girl and him didn't stay.
Okay.
I don't know if I could have been so easily around that woman. Her name was Maribel. I don't know that I could have been around her ever. I'm sure eventually.
You never seen her around?
My sister did.
Oh,
and,
oh God.
Things didn't end well for her. Yeah, so she probably should have stayed with Frank, but I don't think she ever really liked Frank. I don't know. They fought a lot. They had a very tumultuous relationship. At one point, he's like, she did Santeria on me. I have to go get cleansed. I'm like, get the hell out. And then he met another girl after that, Ellie. And they stayed together, but never married. And their relationship kind of fell apart over the years. Frank is Frank. And now things were so getting too much between them. The fighting was starting. I said, why don't you come stay with me for a little while and stop fighting? Maybe you need a break from each other. And that break still has been lasting. You guys obviously are adorable together as co-parents. I mean, listen, we'd be lying if we said we weren't rooting for the two of you, but we know there's David now. How do the two of them relate to each other? David likes Frank probably more than he likes me. David and I have a funny kind of relationship where he's a nice man. He's misunderstood. He's a good guy, but he's not the best boyfriend because he's so involved with his patients, which I respect.
Right.
But here's where it gets to be too much. You have to give a little, But then David does things like he loves my kids so much.
That Frank Jr. is living with him.
Frank Jr. is living with him. Frank Jr., David, I'm living alone. FYI. I'm renovating my house because till this day, I still stand my ground. You're not going to jerk me around, David.
Right.
If you were going to marry me and if you were going to give me a future and security and want a future with me, we're together 4 years, you would have already asked me. I get it, Dave. I'm okay. I'm cool with that. But I'm not moving in, even though I love that house. So I'm renovating my house. And I'm living in my shore house now, which you see a lot of very crazy scenes this season. The cheese throwing.
Oh, I can't wait.
That's in my backyard right now. That's here. That's in that backyard. So I'm living down the shore, but I'm living by myself, like kind of for the first time. Like even if I'm living back in my shore house, the kids come in my house that you see on in North Hilden, the kids come and go. Frankie's little friend still lives with me. I've never had a spare room. I've always had kids come live with me. So little Dougie's there, and I'm never alone. But here I'm alone. There's a deafening silence. But I feel like I need to be here for a reason.
I remember that silence. And you know what? I was the girl who could never be alone. And then the day that I had to be alone, I mean, I had my daughter who was 2, but I was essentially alone. It was such a transformative time for me. Like
it is
so much in perspective.
You learn a lot about yourself when you just quiet what's around you. God puts you everywhere for a reason. You go through everything for a reason. And so many people are like, I'll be alone for the rest of my life. And this is, you're not going to be alone for the rest of your life. You just have to just let the universe, trust the universe, listen to it, let it happen. It happens. I fall in love every couple of years. Don't worry about it. So my mom always says you have looking forward to falling in love all over again. And you learn more about yourself and you're growing into a different person. Just don't make the same mistakes. I knew
you have to, realize your own flaws in order to avoid those mistakes.
Correct. You have to think more of yourself. I didn't think I was strong. I didn't think I was smart. Found out later on, I'm dyslexic. I had to go to school when Frank lost all his money at one time. I had to get a small technical degree. I was bartending nights. This is only 10 years ago.
Wow.
And I realized I had a learning disorder. So I wasn't stupid my whole life. I was teachable, but I didn't know I was dyslexic.
Right.
So you find these things out.
Yeah. You've come a long way and you've also done the work along the way. It's not like you've just sort of let life take you. You've like stepped up in so many different situations, which is so admirable because I always say there's 2 types of women when it comes to infidelity. There's the woe is me and the why me. And then there's the woman who makes lemonade out of lemons, which clearly you did. So what advice would you give to the woman whose life has now just been shattered? She found out her husband was cheating. She doesn't know what to do next.
That doesn't mean there's an end here. It doesn't have to be, men are wired different. This is going to happen. It's not okay. Don't get mad at me for saying, I'm not saying every guy cheats. I'm not. But if he feels like he made a mistake and he comes back and he's remorseful and you believe him and that person was a one-night thing, that person's gone, you happen to find out, and he comes back and he says, give me a chance. Give it a chance. Give it a chance. If he's a good guy, if he's redeemable, if you've had a happy life, if you've had a good life, and you decide you're going to give this a chance, he better, number one, be understanding that you're going to have your moments, and you better drop it and not bring it up every day. Not when you hear a song that reminds you of the time you found out, not when you pass a place that you heard he was with her with, and you're going to fight with him. Don't fight with him. Let's start from scratch. Let's give this a shot. If you're going to give it a shot, really give it a shot. Absolutely. And I really hope that he's kind enough to understand that you're going to have your off moments. But somebody's always got to be the bigger person in a marriage, especially for a family.
Yep.
Be stronger. Be stronger. There's times I want to say stuff to David. There's sometimes I want to say stuff and I say, well, now we're having a good time. It's not the right time. I'm going to eat it right now and I'm going to wait. Patience is a virtue. Now, the guy that tells you, you found out, yeah, I cheated, too bad. If you don't like it, the guy who's been abusive, the guy who was never nice, whatever he is, then you got to be strong, cut your ties, move on. And, I always say mother doesn't have the option to fall apart. A woman shouldn't fall apart over a man because, one guy's loss is another guy's gain.
Absolutely.
And somebody will love you and somebody will appreciate you. And life is too short to be with someone who's not going to treat you right.
Amen.
It goes by fast. I'm 50 years old. I just turned 50 December 28th. I've had a lot of misspent time on men who did not deserve me, on wondering who's cheating, who's he flirting with. Enough. He's not worth it. Not
Well,
worth it.
you're clearly stepping into 50 empowered and also looking better than you've ever looked in your life. I've done the research. You're like,
oh, you've done the research.
I've done the research. Well, listen, I've been watching you for the last few years, and
You're so cute.
you came on and you were
God.
stunning, and I'm like, oh my God, this hair.
We're
and
gonna be friends. I
and
gotta
so
get. I'm coming to
exotic.
Miami. I'm
Come
taking
to
you out to
Miami.
lunch. I'm coming. I gotta get out of this anyway.
But you stepped onto the scene now this year, this season, like holy shit, even though you were filleted open, you look
I was filleted.
great, but worth it. Look at you. And that's sort of like getting in touch with wanting to feel sexy again at whatever cost. Like I'm about it. I'm not the woman who's like age gracefully. I've been shooting up Botox since I'm 30. So I can't get the Moderna vaccine because of my fillers. Like I get it. I totally get it, but you look amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. So I've battled weight my whole life. I grew up eating very bad food.
And I know your mother won't eat a vegetable. I've seen that.
Her blood pressure's through the roof. I asked her, what'd you eat for breakfast? A cookie and eggs. Was the cookie necessary? Valerie, was the cookie necessary? A hot dog for lunch. Like my mom, I can't fix it, but I'm trying to show her different options.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard. And I love food. I love food. I love to eat. I hate working out. I hate it. It's okay not to love it. What? By the time I turned 40, I looked like I was wearing what I've been through on my face.
Mm-hmm.
It was very jowly. I have a thyroid problem. My weight was up and down. Another thing that was misdiagnosed. I would go to doctors. They're like, your thyroid's fine. Stop going out to eat. I was on a 500 calorie diet, not losing any weight. It's so disheartening.
Right.
I had gained 40 pounds in a year. I had just been through so much. So my facelift, I had gotten done, which was scary. It's my face, but I found the most wonderful doctor. And I've been trying to keep up with myself and really take care of myself since. I still have to eat better. I still have to go to the gym. It's a lifestyle.
Of course.
When I tell you food is poison. My grandmother died. She was 105. She outlived her heart. There was nothing. She had never been in the hospital since she had my father. Old school Italian, ate clean. I never saw her eat junk.
Right.
I still go to McDonald's. So you have to understand your diet is very important. And it's important to feel good about yourself. Your self-worth is, at the end of the day, as women, what do we have? We have to have our self-worth to know what we deserve.
And after a divorce or after a separation, you have to work double time to find it again, because you're not just like, this woman all these years later who's been raising kids and now you're alone. You're also someone who's had her heart broken. A lot of people listening, or your marriage didn't work out and you left and you're like, who am I now? So it's so important to do that work, whether it's, changing your hair color or getting an ass.
What I learned was who I was always there. You just have to fight to bring it out. That's all.
Yeah.
And love yourself. I don't love myself. I just don't, but I care enough about myself to fix what bothers me.
Right.
And if you can't fix it, I've met women who've lost 150 pounds. They can't afford a body lift. I get that. But you know what? They feel damn good about themselves because every day they work out, they dance. One girl's a belly dancer. She goes, I've gotten as thin as I can get. But I have all the extra skin. She has herself a hot ass boyfriend. Her kids are doing great. And she's dancing in the mirror and she loves herself.
That's the key. Loving yourself is the key.
You have to.
Do you feel extra pressured because you're on TV?
Well, I can tell you that I've gotten a lot more attention since I've lost the weight. I went on the HCG diet. I had gained some weight and I went on the HCG diet. Then when I lost the weight, I had some extra skin and I went to Dr. Joseph Michaels, who's amazing. Mm-hmm. I always say from here up, Dr. Mark Karolak. From the neck down, Dr. Joseph Michaels. And ladies, I've done my homework. You can't go wrong. You can't find a thing wrong with these men. They're amazing, and they both have the same personality. They're not cocky, and they're good. They're good at what they do.
I have to take pictures for my book cover in a few weeks, and I'm like, I don't want to eat, I don't want to drink, I don't want to move.
Congratulations.
Thanks, but that pressure, and you face it every day.
It is pressure. However, like the demographics of people that follow me, and they're women. Right. So they're not knocking, they're not body shaming me. I dress well. People think I'm a lot thinner than I am. I dress well for my body. I like nice clothes. I used to shop at Daffy Dan's. I like sales. Loman's, Saks. I go to the outlets. I wear nice clothes. I wear a lot of nice
Loman's in Paramus.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good one. I remember that one.
By Century 21. Yes. Yeah. So some of them closed down now with COVID, but they're still there. So I like to wear nice clothes. I'm not a thin girl. I'm 5'3". I'm 144 pounds. So, I mean, I have to I'm not going to wear Melissa Gorga's clothes.
Right. Oh my God, she's tiny.
I can't wear the things that she wears. I'm more of a curvier woman.
Right.
So I know how to dress. I don't look as good naked, probably. I don't know. But I always say, if you see me naked, you better be my plastic surgeon or be in love with me. Those are the two things that needs to be.
Well, I think you're both very lucky to see you naked then.
No. But there is pressure because it's the pressure I put on myself. It's hard for me to watch an episode. It took me three days to watch the last episode.
And what did you think?
Now, last year before my tummy tuck, we were on the beach in Jamaica, and this guy, and I'm embarrassed because he said to me, "You looked so uncomfortable on the beach with Melissa and Teresa. Like you kept trying to cover yourself, and you were so ashamed." He goes, "I felt uncomfortable for you,
right? Because
you were really and I was." And I said to the camera guys, "You get a picture of my ass from the waist down, I'll come back. I'll fucking kill you. I'm gonna kill you." Yeah, it's hard, and it is a lot of pressure, and a lot of times also you're stressed out, so you don't look your best. It's just hard to see yourself. It's hard to hear yourself, the way you speak, the way you walk. I'm always happy with my clothing though.
Good. You should be. I mean, look, for the outsiders, we're all like me and my girlfriends, you may know, they sent you stuff, I think, Lux and Hazel, the sweatshirt company.
Yes.
So those are my best friends. Anyway, we're always like, how does she fucking look so good all the time? Because you can tell when people are putting it on for the camera, and I'm not going to name names. You're just you, and you own it, and you look great, and you sound great, and your messaging as a human being is consistent. You're never throwing anybody under the bus. You have the backs of people who need to be supported. Your loyalty shines through. And again, it's one of the greatest things about you, and now also being the babe that you are. But before we wrap up, I want to hear, first of all, I want to, on behalf of all my followers who figured out that it was you I was recording with today, they all want to say hi to your son. Everybody loves your son.
Oh, little Frankie.
I mean, he is something. And your daughter is brilliant. She's going to be a vet.
She passed her boards. Wow. I got a text message from her saying, "You can call me doctor now, bitches." That's how she told me.
You raised amazing children, Dolores.
I cried. When I tell you, my kids have never seen me cry, and this season I cried. I'm not going to tell you why, but you've seen it in the previews. And my aunts, my mother, I come from tough women. My sisters, they're like, "Oh my God, why were you crying like that?" My children have never seen that. So, and it's okay to show feelings. It's just, I was always afraid if I let it go a little bit, I wouldn't stop. Mm-hmm. That was the thing. But, so, everybody handle things their own way. God bless you. Anybody who's listening, you can DM me if I can help you. I would love to. But, so Gabby's a tough girl and Frankie's a mush.
Yeah, he
wants to talk to me about his feelings. This is Frank Catania calling me again. He missed the memo that we're divorced.
Have him call me. I'd like to ask him some questions. I'm going to get.
Oh, come on.
I would love that.
I think that he should come on so that the women who listen can hear how the man thinks that just did what they did.
I would love to understand from that perspective. 100%. He's more than welcome on our show. But before we go, I want to ask you, What is your favorite part of your journey so far? What is the part that you take with you and that you feel most proud of every night when you put your head down on your pillow?
My kids.
And you should be.
My kids.
be.
I really fought to make sure that they would be okay. And I lost sleep and I prayed many, many nights. My rosary, I prayed. I went to church on my knees and I prayed. Like, I just wanted to make sure that they would be okay. And I asked, just make me a reflection of the best parent you know, many times. And it worked out for me. It did. It did. And that's I say that's my Harvard degree. I have one on Wall Street and I have one that's a doctor. And I have a 3rd grade math level. So that was my dream.
And everything you've sacrificed, it shows. And we love watching you. So everybody, Real Housewives of New Jersey, season 1 million. What season is this now?
This is season 11.
Season 11 is on every Wednesday, 9:00.
Wednesday at 9:00. This Wednesday is, Michelle.
I have the chills. I can't wait.
Michelle, call me.
I will. I'm going to get your number when we're done here because I have more questions for you. I love this doggy. I love that you love dogs. We have so much in common. Besides your good natural hair
that you don't see.
Yeah.
This is my natural hair. I took my extensions out.
That's good.
Because I'm going for a thigh lift, everybody. I've always been ashamed of my legs. I've lost weight and I have very hangy skin on my legs. You never see me in shorts. You did the other day, but it took a lot for me to wear shorts on the show. If you go back, it's not something you typically see. I'm going for a thigh lift March 3rd to Dr. Joseph Michaels.
Can't wait to see how it looks. Thank you, Dolores, so much for being here. And for everybody else listening, thank you for listening. If you have more questions, send them to me. Shoot them to Dolores at Dolores Catania on Instagram. And don't forget to watch the show. Bye-bye. I need to talk to you about co-parenting. Are you struggling with an uncooperative ex, issues with scheduling custody dates, a lack of communication, and financial responsibilities? Your relationship with your ex isn't over, it's transformed. That's why I want to talk to you about Fair, the new app that's helping me and hundreds of other co-parents effortlessly communicate, create a shared calendar, keep track of expenses, prepare legal documents, and more. More importantly, it allows you to experience co-parenting in a totally new way, simply, inexpensively, transparently, and fairly. Use my discount code Michelle to start enjoying your co-parenting experience today. Do you have concerns about your ex's past alcoholism and party habits, especially during custody? Well, then I have to tell you about SoberLink. SoberLink has revolutionized co-parenting, not because of what it does, but because of how it does it. SoberLink does not just test for alcohol consumption, but get this, it immediately notifies the other parent if alcohol has been consumed and can also be set up to immediately notify the court. This instant notification enables a non-drinking parent to take the steps necessary to protect the children from the drinking parent. If you're interested in SoberLink and would like to learn more, go to momsmovingon.com/SoberLink to get your discount today if you mention Moms Moving On.